Hi guys, Lefty here. This is another Lefty rant. Um, if I seem a little tired or drained, I do apologize. This is like the umpteenth time I've done this. I did the original video straight through, one shot recording. Was going to just do some slight editing to make it a little bit less messy and send it out to you. That took about 2 hours, and in the process of trying to edit it, I deleted the video. So ever since then, I've been trying to do it, and every take has been me confusing or me jumping from one part of the argument to something that happens at the end of the argument. Yada, yada, yada. So if I'm not as clear as I want to be, or my arguments just don't work because they're jumbled, I do apologize. I'm thinking we're in like the 5th hour of just sitting here staring at the computer and trying to do this. So I do apologize. Alright, I'm here to talk about Superman, and particularly my love-hate relationship with this character. I say love, but that's the wrong word. I kind of like to watch. I haven't picked up most comics since the mid-1990s. Haven't really touched them. I do occasionally pick up a Marvel, but I never was that much of a DC fan, specifically because of this character. I have attempted to read a few more recently, but for the most part, I haven't touched comics in a long time. I am a comic book fan, haven't read them in a while. I watched anything with Superman, though. I've seen the movies with Christopher Reed. I've seen the animated movies have come out over the years. I've seen the television show, the TV show as in Superman the Animated Series, and Smallville. I was an avid watcher of Smallville. I enjoyed that show. I've watched the recent movie, Man of Steel. Yeah, we're going to come back to that one. So, I do watch the thing, but my hate part of that, part of the love-hate thing, is, well, Superman's a bad character. Don't change. Don't change. I'm talking. I'm still talking. Give me a second. He's too powerful, too stubborn, and even though he's trying to be a good guy, he's doing so in the form of recklessness. We're going to get into all of that. You're going to hate me by the end of this, but I have to say this, and I hope I can say it in a good, fluid way. Knowing me, it's not going to be fluid. It's going to be jumbled. It's going to be pausing and talking and stuttering and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to try to cut that down. I'm just going to try to be straight with you guys. But if I get a little jumbled, please bear with me. Now, before we can get into the whole thing of my feelings about the character and why I believe him to be a bad character, we have to go into kind of the origins. Not the origin story of the character, how the character came into existence. Originally, he was written as a bad guy. I'm not sure how many of you know that, but he was originally written as a villain to a story in a small book. Not even a book, just a small story. Short story. And the writer at the time got the idea that the Superman could make a good hero, and he wrote a book, another short story called The Superman, as him as the hero. And this was in the 19-teens, somewhere between 1913 and 1920. I don't remember off the top of my head the exact date. But after that, it got noticed and picked up and put into a newspaper, but then from there into DC Comics, or what would later become DC Comics. Superman was became popular for one specific thing, and that was World War II. In the World War II era, a lot of things were going on. A lot of bad things were happening. Everyone was feeling the effect because it was a world war. Things were happening here in the States to take part in the war and, try to help the troops, such as collecting scrap metal to make bullets, buying bonds, women going to factories in order to build military equipment, women going to work. This was all good things trying to help towards the war, but also hit home the fact that so many people weren't going to be coming home. It was a war. It was a terrible time, both in the world's history and our own personal history. So, what a lot of people needed back then was inspiration. Something to make you feel good. Patriotism. You needed it. If you didn't have it, you were going to either break or you're going to just succumb to the depression the world was in. And when I'm talking economic, I'm talking emotional. If you read about the things that are happening at that time and some of the stories that are written around that time, yeah, we were in a global depression morally. It was bad. That being said, a lot of things came out, but you did get a lot of things, but one of them was the superhero. Before this time, the superhero was kind of a meh idea. Not really there. I mean, you had over the larger-than-life characters that were heroes, but they weren't called superheroes. They didn't have superpowers. They weren't capable of doing anything beyond that of a normal man. Or a normal man in the setting of whatever the book is written as. That being said, superheroes became a big deal because they were larger than life like the other characters, other heroes at the time, but they spoke to most people. Like, the reason why Superman became popular because he was Superman. He was super strong, he was indestructible. No matter what you put in front of him, he was going to topple it. He was the thing that everyone wanted to be, impervious. He was such a good person, strong, capable, did everything in the name of truth, justice, and the American way, patriotism. He was a very uplifting character, and because he was, even if it was just the part in the newspaper where it's like just a 4-clip thing, a 4-segmented comic, you would read that and go, yeah, you feel uplifted from it. It was good. That was the whole point of the character. It's the reason why it existed. It's the reason why it became popular. He was meant to be the end-all, be-all hero, to do anything and everything possible. Now, as I'm going to go on a bit on a tangent here, I read books. I watch movies. I play video games. I told you I read comics. I am very much into story. I love deep stories. So if you're like me in any way, if you have a love for storytelling that is beyond, this is the bad guy, this is the good guy. Bad guy does bad things, good guy stops him, good guy wins. If you even have an inkling, a shadow of love for a story that's slightly deeper than that, you will understand when I say a character that can do anything, whenever, however, in any way, and come out on top, makes for a weak character. For those of you who don't understand, what makes a strong character is challenge, strive, issues that he has to overcome in order to become stronger, grow as a person. These can be both interpersonal, it could be how he interacts with others, but in a lot of cases, especially superheroes, especially nowadays, it's overcoming the enemy, because the enemy is either going to be so much stronger than you are, or so much more prepared, so much smarter, yada yada yada. But that's what makes a strong character. In this case, with Superman, you don't get that. I mean, there have been other things, which we'll get to, that have been written in, or changed the character slightly, in order to make those type of issues happen, but for the most part, you really don't get them, because I think it was after Infinite Crisis that they really nerfed Superman, because before that he could repair the fabric of space and time with static electricity that he created by rubbing his sleeves together. Yeah, too powerful. Just a little bit. But even after they nerfed him and brought him down to a base set of powers, even then, that set of powers is a rather long list. DC has on their page with describing Superman. They even you can go there on DC and look it up, but they pretty much said that no matter what, Superman's going to be as strong as he needs to be. Meaning, doesn't matter what we put in front of him, he's always going to be able to overcome it. Doesn't matter what issues he's going through, he's always going to overcome it. That's pretty much the same thing as he was before. He's God, a God character. You can humanize him as much as you want, but for the most part, if he can't overcome anything and everything, he's an inherently weak character. Think of any Superman movie or any Superman show. What was the strongest part about that? Was it his superpowers, so the fact that he could fly around? Was it the fact that no matter what they threw in front of him, he was going to go right through it? Or was it his interaction with other characters, such as Lois Lane? I'm going to say most of you are agreeing with me that it's his interaction with Lois Lane that is probably the most interesting part of that. Of those movies, the best part of those characters. And that's because Lois Lane is a strong character. Superman, even in that relationship back and forth, really isn't. I know there's going to be a lot of people arguing that point, but for the most part, Lois is the stronger character out of the two. And without Lois Lane, there would be no Superman. Superman would not be here anymore. Without that character to carry him, he wouldn't be popular anymore, because there would be no real drama or interaction. He'd just be another guy with superpowers. In a world where superheroes are now popular and people are discovering Marvel and DC and large lists of powers, large list of people with superpowers, they're coming to the conclusion that a lot of the mainstays that they've known about for years, why they were mainstays and why these sub-characters that they don't know about are sub-characters that they don't know about, because they are just guys with superpowers. They have no strong characteristics or interactions with other people that are inherently strong. There's nothing there. That's why they're B characters, sometimes brought in for either the use of their specific power or, just to do a team. Because teams are popular now. Teams are very popular now. Thank you, Avengers. Great movie. I loved you, but now everyone's doing goddamn teams. That being said, it was like some of these guys are almost like copies of Superman, and you know what? When you really look at it, there's really no difference character-wise between them. And some of you are going to argue that, some of you won't, but for the most part, I don't care. The only difference between those characters and them are probably the origins of that character and no Lois Lane. I mean, for Christ's sakes, for one of the live-action Superman shows that came into existence was actually called Lois and Clark, because despite everything else about it being Superman, the entire series was revolved around the interaction between Lois and Clark, Superman. So, you, once again, have a bad character with a strong, good character, and that carries it. And now, because that weak character has a bunch of superpowers, it's kind of cool. So it speaks. I can't say it speaks to a certain set of people, but it's interesting. You can enjoy it. It could be stupid, silly, and uplifting. It could be... Yeah. other things that are wrong with this that we have to get into. A whole list of things, but the character has not aged well. Like I said, he was supposed to be the end-all be-all superhero in the World War II era, specifically for this, specifically to be that guy. So for him to even be something like that now in 2014, it doesn't work. He had to change because the world has changed. In comparison to back then, we're not that bad. We're much happier people. We have a lot more outlets. We have more freedoms. We're not in the same spot. We're different people. We may have some same ideals as we did back then, but we are still different people. Very different people than what the country was damn near 60, 70 years ago. It's a very big difference, and for a character to stay the same from point A to point B doesn't work. Like I said, they have written a few things in to try to change the character. One was weakening him. Second was creating villains to specifically counteract him. Whether it be to steal his power or to nullify his power, or in some cases just be more powerful than him, which doesn't make sense considering what DC said about Superman. Two characters in particular that most of you will know, are Darkseid and Doomsday. Darkseid is God. A God, who's bent on killing all life. Now, there are some people, because there's a new origin story and old origin story, and the argument between there. Never mind. However you feel about him, Darkseid is a god. He is essentially immortal. He's damn near indestructible, super strong, has another laundry list of powers that is closer to the older pre-Crisis Superman than it is the more current one. And he was written for a lot of reasons, but one of them was to oppose Superman, to be a villain stronger than him, more dangerous than him, more capable than him. In fact, a lot of superhero team-ups that led to shows such as Super Friends and what we now know today as Justice League. All that came into existence to battle characters such as Darkseid, because Darkseid was that freaking powerful. Darkseid was always been such a, in my opinion, a badass character. He's been great, no matter who's done him. My favorite interpretation of that character was from the animated series, because I forget his name, but the voice actor who does him, it just matches perfectly. It was deep, intelligent soundings, calm, kind of monotone to a degree. It was perfect for that character. And he was always such a deep, dark, powerful character, and it always required so much to beat him. But now, especially in more recent things, even though he was created specifically to be more powerful than Superman, Superman can now take him by himself. They did it in Justice League. They did it in Justice League Unlimited. They did it in a few comics that I have picked up and then immediately put back down, kind of turned me away. Yeah, I'm Superman. I'm going to be that strong for that specific moment and beat you. This is a formula that's used by a lot of heroes in order to strive to overcome the challenge of currently fighting. They either grow stronger or they figure something out, or something happens that makes them capable of overcoming this obstacle, which is great. That's actually a good thing. I mean, it's been done to death, but if you do it right, it'll work. It can't work when you have the character that's meant specific. It doesn't work with a character that's already that much more powerful than everyone else around him. It works with a weaker character, or a mediocre level character, or a character that's not meant to be powerful. That's how it works. There's a lot of other things to make it work, but when you start with a character that is down here, it works if he strives and does something that lets him beat a character up here. If he's up here, and the other character he's fighting against is also up here, but just enough above him to be, stronger than him, able to beat him, it's not much. It doesn't work to make him go, okay, I'm just going to go and just squash you flat. It does not work. It makes for bad storytelling and makes for bad writing. So it went from being Darkseid being a villain that required an entire team of superheroes to take him on. Not just him specifically, because the guy goes around with kind of an entourage of his own little supervillains and an army. He has an army of just very nasty things that are meant to kill, because that's what his objective is. To wipe out all life, to kill, to conquer everything. He went from that to being able to be taken out by one hero, Superman. Yeah, that... I can't say that enough. It doesn't work. There's also another one that I mentioned before, Doomsday. Now, Doomsday is a very unique character, has a cool origin story in my opinion. But he's not a very intelligent character. He's not very well in depth. He's just a basic, I'm a giant thing of brute strength that can kill Superman. In fact, that was his main reason for being created in the comics, to fight and by himself kill Superman. Not kill him so they could bring him back, to kill him off, that's it. Superman is dead. He's no longer a character in DC. We're moving on. Fans didn't really like that, and eventually they had to bring him back. Another thing we will get into is the fans of Superman. That being said, if Doomsday is a recurring character, you know what? Hey, he's already killed Superman once, or nearly killed him, depending on how you look at it. We can always keep him around to be that, new guy, just in case he pops up every now and then. We need everyone to fight against him and stop him. Once again, in one of the more recent issues I picked up, Superman went one-on-one and beat him. And I'm not talking about he beat him as that he outsmarted him, which would be very easy considering the fact Doomsday is dumb, just dumb. It's just weird. Didn't do it because he outsmarted him. You overpowered him. You overpower the guy who was specifically meant to overpower you as a character. What the hell? Another reason why I haven't even tried to go back to DC is because seeing stuff like that, yeah, bad story writing, bad anything. So you had characters that were meant specifically to overcome, beat, and in one case, kill Superman. And he's still capable of taking them on by himself. But you know what? That's not entirely Superman's fault, both as a character and as a hero, really. It's more the writer's fault and the fans. We will get to you guys. Don't think you're above anything here. The writers have wrote Superman in to a strange corner. He can't kill because that's who he is, and we're going to touch on that subject later. He can't kill them. He can't let them do what they're doing. And he can't let himself be killed by them. So he has to constantly beat up these people, put them in jails or prisons, or in a few cases send them to other planets. But for the most part, these are guys who are going to keep coming back out, keep going like this, and keep doing arc after arc after arc of breaking out and killing people over and over again. Now, why does this happen? Does this make the prisons bad? Does it make Superman an idiot? No, not really. It makes the writers weak writers. They're weak because they put them in that situation because they need those characters back. They need to have a bunch of people come back, villains come back, so that they can use them over and over again, both in different arcs that move the story forward, and also to fill the gap between stuff like that. Because you can't have a superhero comic without supervillains. Yeah, actually you can, but we're not going to get into that. But the whole thing is, it comes back to him not being able to kill. Now, this is my personal issue. He should kill a few of these guys. He can't because the way he's written and the way the DC Universe works. But again, I've watched the movies. I've watched the cartoon shows. Oh my god. They've given him an out in so many different ways. Alright, you don't want to kill them? Fine, yeah. You don't have to kill them. You can take their powers away, because apparently you can do that. Christopher Reed's movie, he did it to Zod. People are like, no, you can't actually do that. Well, Superman vs. the Elite, which is supposedly based off of a graphic novel that I haven't read. Yeah, at the end of that, he took their powers away. Why can't you do that with a bunch of other guys? I mean, you know what? It was Kryptonian technology. It actually made sense it would work on Zod and such. It was Kryptonian technology, worked on fellow Kryptonians because that's how it was set up. But the guys in the Elite weren't Kryptonian, they were human. And it worked on them. So why can't you do that on a bunch of other characters? Well, we need those supervillains back. Well, just because they've lost their powers doesn't mean they can't get them back. Two, so a lot of these characters, do you really need them back? They weren't really that great. And by eliminating some supervillains, you get to focus on the more interesting ones, the better ones. I keep running out of breath because I keep talking for long periods of time without breathing. But they don't ever actually do that. On a few cases, such as with Bizarro, they actually put him on his own planet so he can be Superman there. That was, again, in the animated series. I'm not sure if they've done the same thing in the comics, but... No, I think they have done that in the comics. Why can't they do that with a lot of other guys out there? Because, you know what? There's a lot of planets out there. You can't make, like, a prison out of a planet, send the bad guys there, or put a bad guy on his own moon or planet, /this/that. This way they're still out there, and you can still bring them back for other arcs, but actually be creative about it, and make it put in a way where they don't end up hurting or killing a lot of other people, thus bringing up the issue, why doesn't Superman just kill them? Now, as for the fact that Superman doesn't kill, you see it in the Elite, you see it in a bunch of other things, but Superman is really, really set in his ways. He is stubborn to all hell. It is ridiculous. Now, he started off as truth, justice, and the American way. Well, he's not so much that anymore. There have been times where, because he won't kill, someone else has stepped up. In the Elite, Superman vs. Elite in particular. Now, don't get me wrong. Those guys were douchebags. They kind of got what they deserved. But at the same time, they were making a point. A very valid point. If the supervillain keeps coming out and keeps killing over and over again, are you really doing the world a favor by just putting him back in the same situation you know he's going to break out of again? No, he's going to come back out and kill more people again. Is it not better? Is it not more right to kill that person and be done with it? To not have to deal with this issue, to not have more people suffer and die. It was an issue that they actually went in depth with in that movie, which I actually liked. It was one of the few real things that I've watched about Superman that really got me. Really made me go, this is actually making you think. Unfortunately, the way Superman is, it's, no, you can't kill. It's not right. No matter what. It's wrong to kill, no matter what. And I have to show everyone that it's wrong to kill. So I'm going to stop these guys. Well, at that time they killed Supervillain, a corrupt government that was trying to commit genocide of another country, and another supervillain. And he got angry and eventually attacked them. So it wasn't them going after Superman. In fact, by that time they were, well, dissing him, but before that they were praising him because they loved Superman. So it was not instigated by them, it was instigated by Superman. Basically, this is the way I believe things should be done. This is the way things are going to be done. You don't like it? I'm going to pick a fight with you. And because I'm friggin' Superman, that means I'm going to automatically win that fight. Which means my point must be stronger. Which means my point and my belief must be the right way to do it. I cannot tell you how wrong that is. If you need me to tell you how wrong that thought process is, go away. I'm actually giving you permission to leave this page, go watch whatever the hell you want. I don't want you listening to me. I don't want you commenting. Well, you're going to comment anyways just because I said that. Dear God. So, he doesn't let people do what he said he would. I think a few times, actually, that I've read that governments, people who are in charge, democracies, have came into the conclusion that these guys should be killed, decides it, and because Superman's against killing, stops. Again, it's his opinion, his idea. It's what he wants. It's not freedom. I mean, he's an extremist, and most people don't realize it, most people don't see it, because he's the extreme that's on our side. It's the extreme that we like, because it fits mostly our ideals, our thought process. It is, in a sense, our extreme. We don't see it as such, we see it as the right way, but his extreme is our extreme, but his extreme is a little bit farther down the line than our extreme. And some of you are going like, Superman's not extremist. Superman's a great guy. I'm like, well, look at any alternate universe with him in it. What happens? He kills one person and completely snaps. Someone he cares about gets killed, when making him feel the actual feeling of what other people feel like when they go through this every day with the supervillains that he doesn't kill. He completely snaps, and he kills so many people in these alternate universes. I think there's like 7 that I know of, off the top of my head, that are just pure evil Supermans that go around killing people. Whether it be through a dictatorship, whether they just don't like you, whether you were a supervillain at one point, or whether or not you disagree with them. They simply kill you. Because he's an extreme. He cannot settle in the middle. If this extreme does not work, if the extreme that is lined with us breaks and he can't do that anymore, he jumps the other way. He can't middle the road it, which is very, very bad. Both, it makes him, again, a weak character, and at the same time, kind of psychotic. I mean, people idolize this guy thinking he's such a great, good person, and in so many ways, he's proven to be the exact opposite. It's bad, guys. It's kind of... Alright. And what I say about middle of the road it is, you know what? You don't kill everyone. Don't kill the people who don't kill. Don't kill person snatchers, identity theft. Don't kill those people. What about the mass murderers that go on and on and on and just keep killing people? Sometimes for no reason other than the fact that they just enjoy it. Kill them! You know what? The world's better for it. You can kill them, be done with it. It may hurt you morally, it might fuck with you emotionally, and you might get to the point where you can't do it anymore without becoming less than what you are. You know what? Great. You can pass the buck to someone else and just acknowledge the fact that you can't do it. That's a great thing. That's a strong characteristic. You do that, you're a better character. You understand your limitations as a person. Superman does not do this. They try to play it off like this is his limitation as a person, that he simply can't kill no matter what, without truly explaining why. I know there's a lot of storylines that try to explain why, but for the most part, they don't make sense. They contradict one another, and they usually happen in multiple different time frames, so it never adds up. There's never a real reason other than he's a good guy. And good guys don't kill, or at least good guys aren't supposed to kill. And once again, that's more of an archaic form of good guy built around the 1940s, 1950s superhero type. I mean, think of any hero show or things. Oh, think of the Marvel movie that came out, The Avengers. Everyone was killing in that movie. It was an alien army, but you know what? Those were people. Those were warriors in another army. Just because we don't know them as people doesn't change the fact that they are people. And you know what? Yeah. Everyone got a good number of kills in. Do you think they're bad people? Do you think they're not heroes for doing that? So Superman's thing to kill is both a personal thing, which they never explain, it's bad writing, and it's reinforced by the lazy writing of how the villains just keep coming back. That's not to say you can't, like I described earlier, there's other ways you can keep villains from coming back. You keep certain villains coming back, you can get rid of the lesser ones that you don't care about. And you can do it in a way without actually having to kill anyone off and still keep Superman that purist. But you don't. You just do the lazy, quick, one-shot fix. Superman's a weak character because he's too strong. He's a weak character because the only interesting thing about him in most of the media he's been in is Lois Lane, his interaction with her and her as a character herself. He's a weak character because he has been written that way into a point where he can't kill no matter what, which leads to a lot of bad things. They've written him into an extreme position, and it is not a position you want a hero to be in. You know what? Maybe you do want a hero to be in it, but not that one. That's a really hard, especially in this day's culture and our attitude towards killing. Now, I'm not saying there are people who are against the death penalty, people are for it. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about our popularity in killing. Video games, movies, TV, books. I mean, like, my favorite book series, the Dresden Files. He kills mainly monsters and other things, and a few humans along the way. But he goes in detail and shows these characters to being people. People! Sure, they're bad guys and he's killing them, but they're still people. And, you know, I can't tell you the number of times when he finally killed a certain person, I'm like, yeah! You see it a lot in TV. You see it, like, one time I was watching Taken with Liam Neeson with a friend. And, you know, there were times where he killed a certain person in a specific way, and she goes, yes! I thought it! He did it! I'm just saying, our attitude towards killing, especially in a medium, not real life, in just in a storytelling fashion, we're kind of not jaded, but enthusiastic about it. We like people dying. Like Game of Thrones, the television show, both the books and the television show, people get upset when certain characters get killed, but at the same time, people like praising it for the not just boldness of killing off main characters that people are like and are popular, but for doing it so brazenly, so suddenly, so enthusiastically, to kill off in such a way, and people praise it for it. They praise death. They enjoy killing. It is a very sick way of looking at it, I understand, and it's a way that most people don't look at it. But you know what? I have to say it. In books, TV, movies, etc., we kill a lot, and we're okay with it. In many cases, we are happy that we did it. I'm just so to be in a position where you can't kill anyone, period, because it's wrong, it's not right. To be in that an extreme in a world that is what it is today, especially when we're talking about superheroes, fictional things, media in that way. Yeah, it's really a hard position to be in. I'm not saying that just because it's a hard position that you shouldn't be in it, but you gotta be more in depth with your reasoning other than he's a good guy and good guys do not kill. It has to mean more than that. It has to be more than that. Alright, so we've covered his powers, characters written against him, the characters written around him. I only covered one, Lois Lane, but there are other characters, but for the most part, Lois Lane is the game changer in Superman. And his beliefs, his actions. So why is his character so popular? Why do people enjoy it so much? And I think Man of Steel, whether you liked it or hated it, you're going to probably agree with me on this. Because before I met up with Doc and decided that this is what I was going to try to do, to try to be a reviewer and try to do all this, I was doing like my solo thing, just writing things out, not showing it to anyone, just, go see a midnight showing of a movie by myself, come back home, and write about it until about 5 in the morning. I did it with Superman, and you know what? As I'm saying there, I'm enjoying it. I loved it. I watched the movie and I liked it. I was, after the end of the movie, I stuck around to the end credits to see if there's anything extra, yada, yada, yada. As I'm walking out, I'm talking to a few people I bumped into in the theater. Don't know them, but we're exchanging our ideas on how the movie went. And I told them, I'm like, I was coming in here planning to write a bad review when I got home later, but I'm thinking I'm going to write a good one now. And they seemed pretty pleased with that idea. Got in the car. It's about a 35 minute drive between the theater and my house. In that amount of time, just keep in mind, 30 to 35 minutes. It took me an hour that day because at about halfway there, which means about 15 minutes in, something clicked. It was almost audible. Something switched in my brain, and I had to pull over to think about it because it was bugging me. The moment I watched the movie, I enjoyed it as watching, but the moment I started thinking about it, the moment I started going through it scene by scene in my head, it fell apart. It was horrible. When I pulled over, I stopped and said out loud to myself, I just watched a horrible movie. I just watched a horrible movie and I liked it. And you know what? The reason for that was because it was so action-packed. It was everything you wanted to see in a Superman movie, the super strength. You really got to see everything about it. And Christopher Reeve's movies were great, and you did get to see some form of super strength and such. But let's face it, CG, just the way things are done now in movies, it's just so much better, and you were able to see it in such a intense way. And it was so fun to see it like that. And it was basically the cool factor that I came to earlier when I was talking about the interaction between Lois Lane and Superman. Lois Lane's a strong character, while Superman's kind of the cool one because he's got all those powers. And that was pretty much the entire movie. The coolness factor of him having all those powers and using them. You're thinking, well, all the other characters there, Lois Lane was there, she might as well not have been. She was not the Lois Lane we've come to know in any interpretation. She was incredibly bland. Not the actress's fault, just the writing. She was not the same character. There were parts where you kind of saw glimmers of the same character, but really, if you did not know who Lois Lane was before, you have hated this movie. Because you wouldn't automatically tie her in to everything you know about Lois Lane beforehand. Same thing with just about every other character that was someone you've known from previous ones. Previous movies, previous comics, previous media in general. If you did not have those names to tie them into characters you already know, you will have felt completely different about this movie. If you liked it, hated it, doesn't matter. You will have immediately went, why was this person here? The movie's overly preachy, too. There's a lot of speeches that you think are very powerful when you're there in the moment. When you start thinking about them in the context and where they were and who they were saying it to, very preachy and very, very strange. Like, what? Was I supposed to let him die? Maybe. I don't know. Well, that's pretty damn dark. I mean, a lot of other people have touched on that, but you know what? That's actually a meaningful argument, but you're talking to a kid. Yeah, he has all these powers, and you need to teach him some form of responsibility and the ability to hide them. But at the same time, you're talking to a kid. This guy is getting his moral fiber from you. And you're teaching him that maybe he should have just let the kids in the school bus die because it would better protect himself? Ugh. There's a lot of things wrong with that movie. And you know what? The deal changer, what made me think that this was going to be a movie I was going to write a good review about, was the end. The thing that was so controversial that made people, because as I said before and what you have seen so far, my stance on him not being able to kill. And he kills Zod at the end of this. He kills Zod to save a family. Now, the whole scenario that led up to that was ridiculous, but that moment when he finally got up the nerve and killed Zod and had that emotional moment that it bothered him that he killed someone, I was initially like, yeah, holy crap, this was the hell of a fucking risk to take with a Superman character. I liked it. It was a risk, both to the character, to the story. It was a great thing. And then once again, I started thinking about it. Why did it affect him so emotionally? I mean, don't get me wrong, good people should have a national hesitance to killing someone, no matter what. It doesn't mean you should not kill someone, it just means it's understandable and you probably should have a hesitation to doing so. But why he scream? Alright, you know what? Let's forget about that. It maybe affected him a lot stronger than it did other people, or my interpretation of how it should affect him is flawed. I apologize. But at any point throughout the movie, did we get any establishment that killing's wrong? From him, from his family, from any of the characters in the movie? No. The entirety of the movie we did not. It made no sense. I know Christopher Nolan was against the idea and didn't want to do it, therefore it was kind of thrown in there last minute, which could explain why nothing explained it all the way up to there. But at the same time, I've heard that it was put in there because he'll give Superman a reason in later additions to the series that's his reason for not killing, because he's killed a member of his own species and it hurt him so much that he can't bring himself to kill again, ever. Again, you know what? If they done it right, that could have really worked. As it is, that was really weak writing. And if you just use that as an excuse without an explanation in the next set of movies of why you can't kill, you just might as well not even done it. That explained it in a bundle to me. It had all the same issues that Superman has, but took away a lot of the good things. Lois Lane. Honestly, the best part of that movie was Zod. I know a lot of people thought he was overacting that part, but you know, he made the movie for me. I still don't like the movie. After thinking about it and coming to a conclusion, if you take out the coolness factor of seeing everything, which, by the way, there's someone out there right now who goes through and did an estimate through the damage done through that movie, how many people Superman he himself had killed. And at the end of the movie, because he did it voluntarily without with actually thinking about it before he kills him, it bugs him. It didn't occur to him that all that smashing another person through a skyscraper might, kill a few people in between here and here. Either way. When I sat down and thought about it, and eventually got home, I couldn't even bring myself to write the review because I didn't know what I was feeling. I intellectually understood how horrible of a movie it was, but emotionally, because it was cool. It was fun to watch. It was... but that's the problem with Superman, and it pretty much describes straight on my love-hate relationship with the guy. Why I watch everything that has to do with Superman, even though I hate the character. Absolutely goddamn hate him. It's because there's the coolness factor of having those powers and imagining yourself and watching it on screen, especially with today's graphics, with today's CG, being able to do all that to that degree. It's amazing. It's so much fun. And it's just enough that as you are watching it, if you're not letting yourself think, not letting yourself analyze what's going on, and just riding it, it's fun. The moment you think about it, the moment you put any sort of thought into it, it falls apart, and you hate it. And that's the same thing with my relationship with Superman. Everything about him, having those powers, having a character and woman like Lois Lane as a romantic... that's such a cool thing, such a nice thing to think about. When you think about the whole situation and how he is, who he is, as a character, I can't like the guy. It's horrible. Alright, I've said enough. I've done enough. And now I'm going to get to the part that I really, really didn't want to talk about, but because I said it so many times, I have to come back to it. Hi, fans. Superman fans. The ones that are already leaving comments that have not even gone to this point in the video and are leaving the 10th comment of one, a correction, or how much they hate me for not liking Superman. Well, sorry guys. One of the reasons why I don't like Superman is because of you. Because anytime there have been comics where he's done things, where he's broken the rules and have done the very things that I've said that he probably should do, which involves either being killed off, killing someone, and in other cases, just not being the cliched old-style Superman from the 1940s. And every time this happened, you get wave and wave of hate mail and just rage from the fans that are devoted to Superman for some strange reason, love him for some strange reason, take it to such an extreme and push it so that Marvel DC Comics have to either bring the character back, change, or continue the story as if that never even happened. It's so goddamn strange. And you know what? The characters had potential to grow. There have been a few writers that have come on and actually done something unique. Something that might make the character good and, enjoyable. And because the fans don't like it, because it's changed, because it's something where, we get back to the same issues we had in the first place. And it's one of the main reasons, especially over the last 20 plus years, that Superman is still Superman the way he was 30, 40 years ago. Yeah, there are minor changes. There are other alterations that have made him different. But for the core set of personality traits, character traits, period, have been the same for half a goddamn century. More so. Alright, once again, I've ranted enough. Hopefully this will be the last time I have to do this at the computer. This has been the least animated and least rant-like of my videos though so far, but it's also the least energetic. So I don't know if it's going to be that entertaining. I'm going to give it a shot during editing. Either way, I'm going to put it up. Once again, guys, this is Lefty Rant. Bye.